Shabbat Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, great millstone, pushing this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, pushing this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, that be like unto the speckled bird, pushing the word truthfully and sincerely. And I say shalom to you Akim out there. And this is a sit-down lesson, a quick one, through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahweh Shai. And on this June the 13th, 2022 at 7:11 p.m. Central Standard Time on this Monday night on this Shabbat. And this is a news article in the news on this June the 13th, 2022, Monday night at 7:12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And the highlight of this news article, and it reads from CNN Business. And this was updated at 4:28 p.m. and on Monday, June the 13th, 2022. And the highlight of this news article, and it reads, the Dow Jones tumbles negative 876 points and stock enters bear market on worries about a drastic rate hike. And I believe it says, what is a bear market? So it shows you 1 minute and
I invest in Invesco QQQ.
Salakia for the commercial ad. And then this is a bear market. It tells you.
People are panicking.
The market is not functioning properly.
What exactly is a bear market? It's when stocks drop 20% from a recent high. When we talk about the overall stock market, we usually look at a broad index like the S&P 500. But individual stocks or commodities can also fall into a bear market if they decline 20%. A bear market is different from a correction. That's a 10% decline. So if the S&P falls into a bear market, it's already had a correction and then fallen another 10%. Since World War II, there have been 14 bear markets for the S&P 500. A bear market doesn't always signal a severe economic downturn. In the last 40 years, 4 bear markets have occurred without a recession. But the drops that coincide with recessions tend to be worse. The good news is bear markets don't tend to last as long as bull markets. The average lasted 339 days and declined nearly 32%. But history shows it takes about a year for stocks to fully bounce back.
So it was telling you about a bear market right there. Since I believe the S&P 500 hit an all-time low, and that's why it's in the bear market, and it kind of affects the economy a lot, you know. And I'm about to read the news article. It says the U.S. stocks has plunged into a bear market as Wall Street investors grew increasingly nervous about the prospect of even harsher medications from the feds to take a sting out of inflation. The Dow Jones sank negative 876 points, or 2.8%. The NASDAQ was down 4.7 points and has tumbled more than 10% in the past 2 trading sessions. The broad S&P 500 fell 3.9%. That the index is now more than 20% below its all-time high setting in January, putting stocks in a bear market. Recession fears mounting as Friday's miserable consumer price index report shows the U.S. inflation was significantly higher than an economist had expected last month, that it could make the Federal Reserve inflation control efforts more difficult. After raising the rate by a half a point in May, in action the Feds hadn't seen since the year of 2000. Wow, that's been 20 years. A chair German, a chair Jermaine Powell played more of the same until the central bank was satisfied that inflation was under control. At that point, the Feds would resume standard quarter point hikes, he said. But after May's hotter than expected inflation report, Wall Street is increasingly called for tougher action from the Feds to keep price under control. Jeffrey joins the Barclays on Monday, predicting that the Federal Reserve would hike rates by 0.75 percentage point, an action the Feds hasn't taken since 1994. After pointing out the breath for nearly a week awaiting the U.S. CPI report for May, investors exhaled a exasperation as inflation came in hotter than expected. Sam Stevall, chief investor strategist of the CFRA, added in a note that clinic Monday morning. Stahl says the risk of larger hikes dragged markets lower Monday. It says investors in two outcomes, neither of them good. Higher rates meaning bigger borrowing costs for business, which can eat in their bottom line. An overly zealous action from the Fed could unintentionally plunge the U.S. economy into a recession, especially if the businesses start laying off workers and the red-hot housing market crumbles. There is no sign that the job or housing market are in danger or collapse, although both are cooling off somewhat. He says in an interview, CNN Fred Zakara on Sunday, former Fed Chair Ben Bernanke said in a U.S. recession remains possible, but Bernanke said he has faith that the Powell and the Fed could achieve so-called soft landing, an exclusive outcome which the central bank can cool the economy down to get inflation under control without slowing it down so much that it enters a recession. The economists are very bad at predicting recessions, but I think the Fed has a decent chance, a reasonable chance, of achieving what Powell calls a soft-ish landing, either no recession or a very mild recession to bring inflation down. So yeah, another sign of modern day Babylon is falling once again as we continue to see the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones keep on tumbling and decreasing by the day as we see it, Now it says it's in a bear market, like I mentioned before, with the S&P 500 increasingly down, decreasing, which is in a bear market. And as you were seeing that 1 minute and 40-second clip that I just saw was saying what is a bear market, and throughout the years, I believe a bear market kind of affected the economy a lot, and it affected the Wall Street a lot as well too, with the heightened increase of rates and the continued tumbling down of the market continuing to crash. And I think they said the last bear market, it lasted about 300 something days, I believe. So yeah. So that goes to show you a modern day Babylon is falling economically now. and it's going to continue to be this way as long as you continue to have these stocks crash. The Dow Jones, the S&P 500, and the Nasdaq constantly continue to increase on an everyday basis and continue to have mixed reactions, especially globally as well too, because you can with this Wall Street stuff, with the Dow Jones and the S&P 500s, and the companies that's have their stocks and bonds in these stocks and stuff. So yeah, and it affects the economy as well too. So with the continue of hyperinflation, with everything going up, the cost of living, foods and goods and etc. And the electronic businesses and all that, that kind of affects the economy a lot, you know. And this is the book of Revelations 18:2. And he cried with a mighty voice, and he cried with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is falling, it is falling. It has become a habitation of devils, and hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of unclean for hateful bird. Right, because we continue to see modern day Babylon is falling on the economic scale, with everything constantly, consistently going up. The hyperinflation. So it's gonna be like that even more in the last days. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 8. Babylon is suddenly falling and destroyed, which is going to come in the near future, as we see in this place constantly, consistently falling on an everyday basis. Babylon is falling. Babylon is suddenly falling and destroyed. How for her? Take bond for her. If so, she may be healed, right? There's no healing for modern day Babylon. It doesn't matter what guy you have in the White House, on the left hand or right hand side, it's still going to show signs of modern day Babylon is falling from an economic standpoint, from a division standpoint, which is the book of Mark 3:25. If a house be divided, how should it stand? With the recent events, with the protesters and stuff like that. I'm not going to say very much on it because I don't want no scrack on the channel. But, it's showing signs in many different categories of modern day Babylon is falling. But with this particular situation that I'm talking about right now, as I brought up the news article, which we had seen, of the continuing crumbling of the economy, the slowly developing of the economy. It slowed down at a slow pace, constantly, consistently. What the reports came out about a few days ago about the hyperinflation, they would have kind of thought that the hyperinflation would have slowed down a little bit. It seemed that's not the case. Once that report came out, it been on a consistent basis of the Wall Street, of the Nasdaq and Dow Jones keep on constantly crashing and burning as usual. I wouldn't be surprised if this trend keep on continuing of the Wall Street crashing even more, and that kind of affects the economy a lot as well too, because the Federal Reserves and these businesses, other people of Wall Street, they plunge money in the economy, try to help the economy thrive, But I believe he was a former guy that used to work at the Wall Street. He was saying that they was trying to see if the inflation can cool down, and then with the Federal Reserve keep on increasing the rate I believe they said it haven't been increased since 1994, and in the year 2000 as well too, I believe. So yeah, because even if you have the consistently increase of the interest rates, it's still gonna see more of a continue of a hyperinflation. You know, the continual gas prices constantly continue going up as well too, and everything constantly consistently going up. You know, when you buy your foods and goods at the grocery store, with the tax hikes, the housing marketing, you know, and the economy as well too, is constantly going downhill. You know, and it's gonna be like that more and more and more increasingly in these last days. Sure, that shows you more consistently signs of modern day Babylon is falling. So modern day Babylon will not be healed, as I brought out the scriptures of Revelations 18:2 and Jeremiah 51:8. So modern day Babylon is falling on a consistent basis as we see these things in the news in regards to the economy and the jobs report, the housing market, and the gas productions, as we constantly continue to see it downfall as well too, you know. So it shows you more signs of modern day Babylon that's constantly, consistently falling on an everyday basis, you know, because we are living in biblical prophecy times, you know, and this is the time that modern day Babylon is constantly, consistently falling on the economic scale, you know. So with that, I hope this quick sit-down lesson was edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of the Hawaii Shai. And first and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem, Wakakadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles of Great Millstone, preaching his word truthfully and sincerely. And I say shalom to Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching his word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And until next time, I will say shalom and a ball.